Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the one and only Mario here, and I'm Luigi here. We are back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos, as always. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Mario Super Sluggers for the Nintendo Wii/Nintendo Wii U eShop downloadable version, despite the fact that it only came out in Japan and North America, not in Europe or Australia. So anyway, so last time, or specifically yesterday, we have basically finished up everything in terms of challenge mode by simply taking on Bowser twice, specifically Bowser Monsters team. So as a result, because of the forms of not only ending number 1, but also ending number 2 as well. So that way we can able to potentially try to unlock that potentially. So even then, despite it's actually pretty tough in the end, especially noticeable because, as I said before, certain computer players are actually super duper aggressive. But aside from all that stuff though, we actually did that no problem, aside from the fact that we did use one of those items for PD Piranha most likely, which appears to be a nice bat. So in the end though, we actually did these two matches no problem. So despite there are some bit of struggles here and there by keep on getting outs and all that stuff. So anyways though, so today for this video is about the fact that we're about to show you guys 2 other stages that you will find during the forms of in challenge mode once you purchase the forms of not only Cruise Pass, but also with the forms of Luigi's flashlights, which there are, you would be able to actually access to 2 other stadiums, which are Daisy Cruiser and Luigi's Mansion. Now, you can also play the other stadiums at nighttime, but they're all like cosmetic, so the only difference is the actual time of day it was. So, even then though, we were expected able to show those off, but all these stadiums all remains the same as the daytime variants, except they're all in nighttime. So for now on, we'll show off Luigi's Mansion first, because obviously about the fact that, well, we'll start able to show the only nighttime stadium you can only able to actually access to. So either way though, yeah, because as far as I'm aware, Luigi's Mansion is not accessible in daytime, because obviously Luigi's Mansion is supposedly likely takes place in nighttime. So as you can tell about the fact that before you start the game off, you have to choose one of the captains, and then once you've done so already, you can actually pick any of those teammates. And look how many characters there are during the forms of that particular box, as you can tell. Yeah, because let me tell you, this is without a doubt the greatest character roster in any other Mario game, specifically Mario spin-off game as far as this is concerned. Yeah, which is pretty impressive, all things considered. Especially, it's like, I would classify for saying they had a grand total of like 70-ish characters on here. Well, mind you, it's been about quite a few hours since we've actually last played this game. And then also, as you can see right there, you can also play as your Mii. And then you can also place him in any other teammates if you wanted to. But I think at this point, we'll pretty much have to save the Mii for later, for one of those videos coming up. So just to ensure that we will show that off during the forms of one of those modes. It could either be mini games or toy field, so who knows. So as you can see, we actually stumbled across into other settings that we can now able to actually access to. They can either set up as in a longer game, like you can able to actually set in like 9 innings, or specifically if you manage able to turn on the items, which is essentially error items essentially, and you can also turn on the forms of the actual star ability, and of course you can able to actually turn on Mercury Roll, which what that means is that if you are up in the lead up to this point, if you get up to like 10 points, then the opposing team, basically it gets like a called game, meaning it's Mercury Roll. So either way though, or Mercury Roll as far as this is concerned. So either way though, that must have been said something, so yeah, here we go on to Luigi's Mansion. So as you can see, that there's a lot of grass, specifically if you try to catch the ball, and then basically, I can assure you, if you pretty much get into the grass, it actually slows you down a bit. So, and every once in a while, there's going to be some of those familiar ghosts, for those you ever played Luigi's Mansion as from before. So relatively speaking though, you pretty much expect to see how this is going to turn out. Especially noticeable about the fact that several other Mario spin-off games always attempt able to bring Luigi's Mansion stage, since Mario Power Tennis and all that stuff, and same applies with the forms of Mario Slam Basketball, and that was before when Mario Sports Mix also brings back the forms of Luigi's Mansion, but in a completely different overhaul, at least for some sports anyway. Oh jeez, we just realized about the fact that, you know, Team Mario, specifically Mario Fireballs, already got 2 points. Well, mind you, because of how the fact that it's been about quite a few hours since we've last played this, because recently about the fact that we've almost getting close, towards the end. Well, to be more specifically, that recently during the forms of yesterday or something like that, we've recently managed able to finally beaten every single super bosses during the forms of in the main game of Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope recently. And let me tell you, it does took me a couple of hours to able to beat them. Although I will say the hardest one out of the bunch though is definitely on the 5th world, but that's besides the point, mainly because about the fact that sometimes you need to be super strategic about it, and on top of all that stuff though is about the fact that the actual arena itself is pretty small, so as a result of that kind of stuff though, there's no breathing room at one point. But in the end though, because thanks to the forms of, without a doubt, is one of the best characters that we actually use the entire team, which there are Bowser and Rabbid Peach, and especially noticeable for Rabbid Rosalina, because I will say Rabbid Rosalina has, without a doubt, the best ability in the entire battle, or to be more specifically in terms of combat mode, and that's what appears to be freeze enemies in place, or lock any other enemies in place, including super bosses as well, which I think is actually pretty cool in my opinion. So, because we were expecting that we would also try to use Mario for that particular super bosses, but honestly, with Bowser, with Rabbid Rosalina, and Rabbid Peach, that it makes this a pretty cool combination team, I'm not gonna lie, because I tend to use that particular combination the most, so... But that's just me, but that's mainly because about the fact that it's super cool to able to actually have those abilities, so that, well, despite the fact that we have to keep on buying a lot of items, specifically with all that resetting cool times, and especially noticeable with the forms of continuous movement items, and that's pretty much about it basically, so that's the only method that we tend to able to beat, you know, super bosses in that regard, so... But I digress. But I supposedly enough that we finally managed able to realize that we've also finally completed all those side quests during the forms of not only in the last Spark Hunter DLC, but also with the forms of the main game as well. And it did took us about quite a few minutes to able to figure out which one of those side quests does it contain. So yeah, in the end though, that I think it feels like we've almost finished up the entire, well, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, aside from the forms of the Tower of Doom, because I rarely touch that mode, mainly because it's a bit frustrating at first, mainly because the super bosses are always at the forms of, by the end of the first run, or any other runs for that matter. Yeah, so like specifically, we're still stuck on the forms of in, the 10th floor on the second run. So either way though, sometimes it can be rather a nuisance whenever we get a lot of strategy didn't work out. So as you can see, we're about to be able to play against with Bowser monsters this time around though, just to give them a chance to able to give them a little bit of a victory comeback or somewhat. So, but either way though, because as you can tell, the opposing team we're about to face off against this time, which appears to be Mario Fireballs. So, potentially speaking though, just for a payback after the events of the finale portion of, you know what I mean, in challenge mode. So, yeah, everything else will be pretty much expected. So, even though, strangely enough, we've only got 1 point so far, I'm guessing because, you know, the, high ball exists, so, yeah, I was not expecting that. But, oh well, no big deal, because this is exhibition mode, so we don't have to worry about the forms of frustration here and there, compete against with the forms of Bowser Monsters team again. So, but either way, though, that must have been saying something, so... Now, there's one thing we honestly forgot to mention about, during the course of the majority of this month, which appears to be June, that's what appears to be about the fact that, yes, apparently the Disney film called Mulan has officially become 25 years old just recently in America. So, yeah, happy 25th anniversary of the release of the original Mulan. And as far as whenever we look back on it though, I will say, that film is actually really good. Like, certainly dang good. Even for 1998, wow, along the same year as when the forms of DreamWorks Ants first rolls around, and especially noticeable with the forms of A Bug's Life also came out as well. So relatively speaking though, kudos to Mulan that, you know, celebrates the 25th anniversary treatment. So, Yeah, that's actually pretty awesome. But I must say though, it's about the fact that the original Mulan is definitely a lot better. Not only by the forms of Mulan 2, because it's a pretty damn bad direct-to-DVD sequel, but also with the forms of live-action version as well, because both of those movies are pretty awful. Mainly the forms of how the fact that, wow, it's bad enough about the fact that in the live-action version just removes the actual, one of those comic relief characters, which appears to be Mushu, you know, voiced by Eddie Murphy, of course. Yeah, because he was actually a cool actor back then, so either way though, yeah, it's a shame about the fact that with the live-action version of Mulan just sucks. And it's even worst of all though, is about the fact that that film does have a box office bomb, mainly because it did came out during the actual COVID pandemic, so because of that though, yeah, you probably expect at that point. So even then, you're still able to actually access to that film during the course of the Disney Plus subscription services or somewhat. So, but I digress. So yeah, remember when we, as far as what Sonic or Pac-Man is already mentioned about, during the course of one of those Nintendo Direct announcements, which appears to be, of course, Pikmin 1 and 2 has finally came out on the Nintendo Switch. Now, as far as I'm aware, that obviously the digital version came out just recently. Now, as far as I'm aware, during the course of the physical version is expected to be releasing at some point during the films have been, well, let's just say during September, the 22nd, as far as what Pac-Man has already mentioned about. Now, as far as I'm aware, it feels very similar to the forms of how it does it in Metroid Prime Remastered, of course. That basically releases the game physically at first, but then, or actually kind of think about it, release digitally first, and then they'll release the physical version during a later date. So, either way though, and as far as I'm aware, hopefully we're also able to get ourselves the reversible cover for the likes of Pikmin 1 and 2 box art, because I remember back in the day, like usually in the beginning portion of the year, that since then we still got ourselves Metroid Prime Remastered, of course, physically speaking, and as a result of that kind of stuff though, they did manage to contain the reversible cover, which not only contains the box art based off from the English version, both the European version and the American version, but at the same time, that if you try to change the cover, it is actually based off from the likes of the Japanese version, so, oh jeez, I have no idea what the heck just happened right there. Yeah, it's probably best not to use the power block while you actually did perform a star swing with Bowser Jr. Yeah, that's why I did not expect at that point. But at least on the upside, it's about the fact that we're now on to 5 points, so looking good so far. Oh yeah, as far as I'm aware, oh geez, Bowser was actually in tired mode, so hopefully we'll try to switch things around once we get ourselves our first out. So yeah, you probably realize about the fact that once you start the actual the match, that you can actually have a choice between 4 different difficulties when you first up against with computer players. There's level 1, which is essentially the easy mode, and level 2 is considered to be the normal mode, and level 3 is considered to be the hard mode, and lastly level 4 is basically like intense, very hard difficulty when it comes to computer players. So yeah, that's as far as it usually goes. That's what I can really think about it, I guess. So, but I digress. Ooh, nice. And also we got ourselves a familiar Luigi's Mansion theme background, so yeah, that pretty much expected as such. It's a shame about the fact that Luigi's Mansion never makes its return during the course of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, only in Mario Kart Tour. So yeah, that must have been saying something, I guess. Speaking of which though, it's about the fact that from what I've heard, that Team Mario is actually doing pretty well during the course of Mario vs. Luigi Tour, which we're really hoping that Team Mario will actually win, because obviously we did somehow choose the team, and hopefully we'll get ourselves our better rewards. So just in case we can able to save up for the next costume for Donkey Kong, specifically Gladiator Donkey Kong. So now as far as I'm aware, that basically is about the fact that when it comes to the next tour coming up, that it'll actually brings us a familiar Mii Racing suit, and as it turns out, it's gonna bring us regular Mii Racing suit, which it might be the possibility about the fact that it might be sad to say for Mario Kart Tour fans that regular might not be playable due to the forms of the Mii Racing suit itself, which it kind of does exactly the same treatment as the forms of you know what I'm saying, with Spike, so... Yeah, it's kind of a bummer though, especially noticeable concerning with all that particular points itself in mind. At the very least, we already got ourselves the forms of Wiggler, Racer, on the actual Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as the game itself. So even then though, because obviously we still have no idea when does Wave 5 is still expected to be releasing, but again, it's expecting to be releasing on summer, but at this point in time, it's no longer going to be releasing until like, well, at least specifically what I was meant to say, that it's not going to be releasing in the forms of June, so it could be either be on July or August, because I remember in last year that we have to wait for Wave 2 for the ridiculous amount of time during the course of last year, because obviously about the fact that we, back in last year, not only do we get ourselves, you know, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Direct before the game comes out until about a month later, but also with the forms of, you know, Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase, because as a result, it's been a year ago since we've actually last had ourselves the Partner Showcase back in the forms of last year, because so far so good for this year. We didn't get one for this year, which is a good thing, especially notable because obviously it still is one of our least favorite Nintendo Direct presentations of all time, at least in my opinion. So, but either way though, that's just for our case anyway, so... But at the very least, we got 2 points on the 3rd period, so that pretty much leads us to 7, so that should be all swell. Now, originally, though, about the fact that we did say something for this point, that we honestly forgot to mention about one last true thing during the course of the actual recent Nintendo Direct. Now, we've already mentioned about the fact that with the Super Mario Bros. Wonder is definitely coming. Now, as a result, it's going to be releasing around the same day as Marvel's Spider-Man 2, made by Insomniac Games. So, even then, though, that there's a lot of hypeness is going on, especially noticeable because everyone else has been excited for Super Mario RPG Remake a lot more, because, you know, this is probably their fan favorite Mario RPGs they've ever played, at least I think so anyway, so I would expect about the fact that it's not going to be coming onto the Nintendo Switch Online services anytime soon. At least I thought so anyway, so... Oh, jeez, I did not pay attention to that at all, because I didn't get it back onto the base, so... Whoops. Anyway, though, and something's worth noting for is about the fact that we're going back into the point where... basically, in terms of weather conditions for right now, it's actually gonna get really ridiculously hot today, so we definitely need to get a lot of water after we're done with this particular recording session, but at least on the upside for this point though is about the fact that, oh jeez. Yeah, it looks like that one of those players gets a point, specifically for Mario Fireballs, so, oh well. But exponentially, we've only got one more out left, so just to ensure that we will. Oh, we might as well get an out. There we go. Kudos for you, Bowser. So, yeah, as you probably already know, since then we've already beaten Bowser monsters twice, during the course of in challenge mode. That also means about the fact that one of those star characters has already been unlocked, alongside with the forms of how the fact that we can now play as Bowser Monsters team during the forms of in challenge mode. So basically what that means is about the fact that you can now able to actually have ourselves, well, in addition to having it as the actual characters or something like that in challenge mode, but also you're able to actually stumble across into a star character variations of those characters as well. So thankfully you don't need to worry about just trying to able to actually like deal with Bowser Monsters team for the 3rd time or somewhat. So, but even then, it's been quite a few hours since we've last gone back into this though, as you expect, so... Alright, nice hit for Bowser, despite we got out, but that's okay, because we're just gonna have to able to let Kamek get a run. So, there we go, so that pretty much leads us to 8 points so far. So, anyway, let's talk about the last true thing that's been announced during the forms of the actual Nintendo Direct. That is about the fact that they mentioned something related to the actual recap of how well The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is doing, and especially noticeable because, relatively speaking, they actually revealed not one, but 2 brand new amiibos specifically related to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which there are both Zelda and Ganondorf. Let me tell you, those amiibos do look very cool. yeah, especially noticeable since about the fact that we've already got the Link one ever since when the game came out. So as a result, it's nice to have Zelda and Ganondorf get its treatment for the Amiibo figures. And as far as I'm aware, the posters look familiar for both Zelda and Ganondorf throughout. Like, for instance, for Zelda, basically Zelda holds the actual broken Master Sword, or technically speaking, repaired the Master Sword. And on top of that, for Ganondorf, he looks super cool. Especially noticeable because obviously he looks a bit more muscular than he forms of how it does it from the past Zelda games or somewhat. So, but still, we haven't gone back into Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for quite some time, because now we've actually got ourselves even more games coming out during the forms of in 2023, so we can expect about the fact that we can able to actually take some bit of time off to able to actually play Tears of the Kingdom. So, but still, we got a whole ways to go for Tears of the Kingdom before we're able to play, you know, other stuff worth noting for, such as, for instance, we still need to go back onto Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, despite it's a bit hard to get back into it every now and then, because we pretty much used to with Sparks of Hope combat and stuff like that, despite the fact that apparently some people still say that it's kind of sad about the fact that, relatively speaking, with Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, well, we did review it very well, but unfortunately though, it's got underperformed for cell units, so yeah, it seems kind of sad, honestly, especially because this is without a doubt one of the most coolest, or probably I should have meant to say, that is pretty underrated, especially noticeable considering they fixed a lot of issues I have with the first game, so yeah, I have no idea why that Sparks of Hope didn't sell well, so oh well, no big deal, I guess. And yeah, since Bowser Monsters wins, so in some cases though, who's gonna be MVP? It's Bowser, which is pretty obvious because he is the most aggressive player, so, and something tells me because of how the fact that obviously his points wasn't exactly the most highest when it comes to MVP, but either way though, it does its job, I guess. So anyway, so that's pretty much about it for Luigi's Mansion, as the stadium itself is actually pretty cool. Especially noticeable because obviously that Luigi's Mansion as the environment as far as this is concerned is actually now going to get a lot more recognizable from the likes of not only for this game, especially noticeable with, as I said before, with Mario Power Tennis, and even especially noticeable with Mario Kart DS, and even let's not forget ourselves the battle course from the likes of the forms of not only Mario Kart Double Dash, but also with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as well. So, but either way though, that's pretty much about that. So now let's go ahead and move on to the next stadium we can show off. And that's what appears to be by the forms of Daisy Cruiser. So as a result, it could be more something related to our summer-themed stadium as far as this is concerned. Now, in order to be able to unlock that, is that similar to the forms of how it does it for Luigi's Flashlight, basically you have to pay for about 300 coins for buying a Cruiser Pass, or if you manage to able to recruit any other, like, or every single character during the forms of the entire team, basically though you have to pay for about 150 coins for 50% off. So, and exponentially, not only do you get yourselves the daytime version of Daisy Cruiser, but also you're able to get yourselves the nighttime version as well. And as for this point, we might as well show off the daytime variation, just because we're still in summer after all, so we can pretty much expect the fact that we can able to just, well, show off some different time of day or something like that. So, yeah, that's what I can say about it. So I apologize for my camera take, it's a bit slightly iffy at this point, but that's just because about the fact that at this point in time, that we are incredibly thirsty by then, so, but then again though, Luigi, we'll try to able to actually drink some more water once we're able to finish this recording, so, anyway, so in terms of teams we'll bring in the forms of not only certain star characters, specifically King Boo and King K. Rool, Funky Kong, and Wiggler, but also we decided to bring some small characters here and there, which there are Red Toad, Toadette, Blooper, and even Baby Donkey Kong, so that'll be an interesting combination, so yeah, and as far as I'm aware, we always attempt able to set the computer player's team as in random, so just to ensure that we'll see some different variety when it comes to the forms of certain teams and stuff like that. So it looks like for Team Daisy's case, that she got herself not only Peach, but also Toadsworth. Oh jeez, we were expected able to include Toadsworth into our team, but I suppose we need to able to see Blooper in action, and especially noticeable because the last time we actually select Blooper was actually back in challenge mode in, I would say in Yoshi Park. So, but either way though, that must have been saying something, so yeah, we're really hoping about the fact that when it comes to both Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2, both on the Nintendo Switch, once that comes out physically, that we will expect to also able to get ourselves the reversible cover treatment. Like, as far as I'm aware, the actual box art itself is actually based off of the Japanese version, like the actual cover for the likes of not only for Pikmin 1, but also for Pikmin 2 as well. In addition to that, about the fact that maybe potentially we might be able to see the English version box arts, like even either the European version or the North American version, because obviously between both the European version and the North American version's cover for Pikmin 2, at least it's a little bit different, because as far as I'm aware, it does have ourselves a lot of details going on in the North American's cover, and as far as I'm aware, compared to the forms of in the European version, it's very simple, so but we shall see what happens in due time, especially noticeable concerning all that particular point where we're still in June, of course, and especially noticeable about the fact that we're almost getting very close towards the end of June as far as what Sonic and Pac-Man has already briefly mentioned about that during the course of time, so and it looks like that Toad got himself a very impressive home run already from the get-go, especially noticeable because, wow, the actual hit right there is actually super duper swell. Although then again, we would have appreciated if we were able to actually show off the nighttime variation of certain stadiums, but honestly guys, we just want to move on to the next Let's Play in the process, especially concerning of all that particular points worth noting for, that's definitely an out. Yeah, because I can definitely tell for that particular Daisy's start pitch, that basically does about the fact that it just activates the slow ball, and then basically as soon as you hit it, basically it instantly goes into a small fly ball, so, or specifically, you know, slow high ball as far as what I meant to say, so as you can see, we're going to be selecting Team Luigi, specifically Luigi Knights, as you can see, during the forms of that particular icon right there. So, yeah, that's as far as we can able to say for this point right there. So, yeah, as you probably mentioned this before, Luigi, is about the fact that there are some small glitches here and there in this game, to be more specifically with the graphical glitches between both Mario and Luigi. And yeah, you're definitely right in some cases though, because obviously certain pupils of their eyes, it tends to feel a bit invincible for the majority of any other points worth noting for. Specifically, for what I've noticed is that when you're trying to perform a star swing with Mario, and then basically it's about the fact that one of his eye pupils didn't show up during the course of his batting star swing. So yeah, that seems rather odd, especially concerning of all that particular points where, even though it's been a very long while since we actually seen the certain glitches to be found, but either way, that's saying something. Yeah, we're not doing too bad for the beginning portion of the stage. Now, the actual main emphasis on this stage right there is that this particular stadium does have a lot of tables that gets in your way, but ultimately though, I don't think there's any like dangerous stage hazards to be found. I'm not exactly sure what really happens if you do manage to play this particular stadium during the forms of being in nighttime, but we shall see what happens as soon as when someone sends a comment section down below. Oh, you... I totally forgot that Paragoomba just somehow jumped over the green shell. I suppose that really doesn't matter in some cases though. Alright, King Boo, what are you gonna do? Of course, you're able to expect to go into the first place, so... I gotta say, I really like the music in this particular stadium, because it always reminds us like a summer vibe, so... It's a good thing we did somehow manage to select the daytime version of Daisy Cruiser, because obviously this stage does remind me like we're experiencing the Cruiser holiday experience, so... Yeah, that's what I can really say about for this particular stage, despite, well, Wiggler's super ticked off, because obviously she keeps on getting a lot of delay swings, or potentially speaking with early swings or anything else like that for the timing. So at the very least, that's the game expects you to able to tell you that you swing it too late or swing it too early, unlike the forms of how it does it in Mario Superstar Baseball, that it's hard to judge. So, unless assuming, of course, if you're able to actually access the easiest tool, which appears to be by default the easy hit, so we can expect something. So, whilst unlike in Mario Sports Superstars, that basically they screwed everything up during the forms of the baseball sports, which not only you can't able to take control of the actual fielders, but it's also about the fact that the actual the aiming reticle when it comes to hitting the ball while during the batting mode, basically it is so sensitive, and as a result, that's the reason why we're no longer going to be coming back into baseball sports in Mario Sports Superstars on the 3DS, because let me tell you, that sports disappoints us during the forms of that particular points worth noting for, so... Because yeah, at this point in time, when it comes to the Switch life cycle, when it comes to releasing or announcing certain titles as far as this is concerned, oh, that's definitely an out. Yeah, because I can tell from that high ball, so... At the very least though, we're now on to 4 points, so... Yeah, that's something, I suppose. But anyway though, in terms of the upcoming games for the Switch as of now, well, as we expected about the fact that not only do we see some small AAA titles or something relates to that, but also about the fact that at this point it will become a port machine or a remake heavy machine or something like that. So, well, it's hard to say really, because I know for a fact it's been about quite a few days since we've actually mentioned something relates to the forms of certain remakes or ports for certain other titles or anything else to be more specific, but either way, as far as say goes, that's what we can say about the forms in today's case. Well, at the very least we got one out, and yeah, that's what I can think about it. So yeah, let's talk about the forms of certain content we were able to expect to get in journey forms of the upcoming Night Tour for Mario Kart Tour. So let's get started with the forms of that particular Mii Racing suits they are able to introduce into something. And, of course, about the fact that before we get onto that though, the actual Italy-themed track is actually going to call it Rome Edbertini, I think is what it says anyway. Well, despite the fact that we do apologize for that mispronunciation of that particular track's name, but I will admit though right away though, it's not as grand as the forms of how it does it on the previous city-themed tracks, unlike the forms of how it does it in, let's say, Vancouver Velocity or anything else like that. So, yeah, because as a result of that kind of stuff though, that, although I'm curious to try out once that particular tour is going to come up, but as a result though, that's what I can really say about that particular theme track, so... Oh, look at Funky Kong right there, just managed to get an exact home run hit, and as a result, usually whenever when Bodo decides to use her special star pitch, so yeah, that's actually super dope for that particular nice little hit right there. I mean, geez, that must have been super impressive. But I digress. So yeah, in terms of Mii Racing suits they've got, they obviously brings 2 of them, and the first one out of the bunch though is Fishbone Mii Racing suits, which I think we predicted that from last time, so yeah, we're definitely correct on that. And the second one, which appears to be by the forms of a standard Mii Racing suit, and which appears to be by the forms of light green Mii Racing suit. And as far as the special items that brings us into, like for instance Fishbone Mii Racing suit does brings us a bubble, which still is pretty lame in my opinion. Now as far as I'm aware, with the light green Mii Racing suit, they obviously brings us a barrel cannon item that just like what Funky Kong had. So yeah, that's about it basically. So even then though, I'm not exactly sure what the special item does Donkey Kong Gladiator costume variation does contain, but I'm sure it will brings us like a giant banana peel, just like the forms of how it does it for regular Donkey Kong, but we shall see what happens. I'm pretty certain that Sonic will be able to mention more about it during the course of Sonic Frontiers playthrough, so... But then again, we shall see what happens in due time. So, but either way, yeah, I guess it's that for the actual Mario Kart Tour content coming up for the Night Tour, so... But again, I'm still curious to check it out, especially noticeable it's nice to able to have, you know, Moonview Highway returning from Mario Kart Wii, so even then though, that must have been pretty cool, so... Now in terms of the forms of something else we could possibly mention about, honestly guys, that's what I can say about it. Although aside from the fact that there are some downsides that we want to address, in terms of the forms of Marvel Studios itself, that basically Marvel Studios is about to skip Comic-Con's whole -H for this year. So because of that though, mainly because of the writer's strike. So because of this though, yeah, it seems kind of sucks about the fact that, you know, relatively speaking with that particular Marvel Studios, it's not gonna take place in the forms of Comic-Con for this year. So yeah, it seems kind of sucks though. And speaking of such though, it's about the fact that for I've double checked on the forms of the Japanese version of the actual Nintendo Direct, you know, with the most recent one, right? Oh yeah, what about it? Apparently, they did actually mention something exclusive to that. That's what appears to be something related to the Famicom, you know, the Famicom system. Oh, what do you mean by that? Well, because, relatively speaking, the Famicom itself is about to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the system itself. Oh, really? I did not notice that. Especially concerning with all that particular point where, basically it's just a way of how the fact that they're trying to able to celebrate certain systems like that. Or, it could be interesting though, especially noticeable, God knows if they're able to actually bring, like, you know, NES remakes, returns on the Nintendo Switch, or something relates to that. But then again though, we have to wait and find out during in the future months to come, so... I just realized that we somehow once again conquered everything in during the forms of this match, and it looks like that King Boo just somehow compete against with regular Boo, when it comes to both batting and pitching. So, but regardless of such though, we use the error item right there with the power block and everything, so... Alright, so Wiggler... Oh jeez, I totally forgot about the steal the base kind of parts right there. And hopefully we'll get ourselves a good old hit for Wiggler and use the actual green shell despite we missed. But that's okay, because obviously about the fact that we still ended up in not only the second base, but also with the forms of the third base as well, between both King Boo alongside with Wiggler as well. Oh, dang! Wow, that was actually kind of close. And even then though, it's a good thing we've got the points right there after when someone gets an out, so that's okay. And exponentially, since about the fact that Daisy Flowers team just somehow feels a bit lacking, so as a result, since they've got 0 points as a result, this also means this might actually cause for a mercenary roll. So either way, that's okay, because we got ourselves an out anyway, so we got 13 points, so that's even more than in forms of how it does it, since we actually have ourselves, I would say roughly 10 points during the course of in Belgium Junior Playroom. So yeah, that seems super duper impressive in our regards. So, but yeah, that's as far as we can say about for this point, guys. I mean, then again, we would have liked able to explain something else, but then again, we'll let Sonic be able to mention more about any other details for the likes of Sonic Frontiers and all that stuff. I suppose we should probably also mention about another thing in mind, that basically we're still looking forward to able to actually seeing the next season of Sonic Prime. So potentially speaking, they were able to actually bring us some new story details about the forms of how come Shadow wants to able to, like, presumably we see one of those clips already, and obviously it shows us both Sonic and Shadow, and yeah, that's as far as I can usually try to able to explain any of this kind of stuff though, so... Alright, so let's go ahead and do some very, very good pitching with Luigi, and exponentially speaking, we didn't get tired out once, unlike the forms of in Daisy's team, that basically one of those characters do get tired out, so... And last pitching, or potentially we'll get an out. And it says cold game, meaning it's mercenary roll. So that means we've somehow conquered everything in terms of Daisy Cruiser as the stage itself. So I will say this stage does look pretty nice, especially noticeable concerning that we actually on a cruise ship after all. So, and even then, that's pretty much all we can say about the forms of extra stages of how this game actually has to offer. So, but again, you can either play it either on the exhibition mode if you wanted to, or potentially if you want to go for you know, in challenge mode, then by all means you can able to enjoy those specific stages at any time. So, but either way though, and it looks like that I am the MVP just because I somehow managed to become pretty good when it comes to pitching in mind. So, yeah, with that being said though, we got the endings of this point right here. So join us next weekend for more of Let's Play of Mario Super Sluggers. Ah, dang it, we forgot to change the batteries. So, oh well. So join us next weekend for more of Let's Play of Mario Super Sluggers. Instead, we're about to show you guys Toy Field. So, I think Toy Field will be pretty exciting though, don't you think? Yeah, exactly. So we'll see you guys next weekend. Later, fellas.